Hello and welcome to this Let's Boot training video. Today we're going to add a progress bar to Angular 4 apps using ngx-progressbar. So as always, you can find all the content of this video and the source code in this Medium article. And straight away I'd like to thank Murhaf Sousley for the content and kudos to him for his work. So what are we going to do this time? Just like every time, we'll generate a simple Angular 4 app, install the package, import it to our app, and then go through and test it out. So let's get started using Angular CLI, which I recommend to make your life easier. Once npm has installed all our packages, we will move into our folder. And now I'll open the code in our favorite code editor, Visual Studio Code, but of course you can use whichever code editor you want. And now inside of our code editor, we'll open a console, and in here we will now install the ngx-progressbar. Once that is done, we will run ngserve to check that our app is running correctly. So we'll now go to our localhost 4200, and here we go. We have our basic application which we can now start to edit. So we've installed the progressbar package in the app. The next step we have to follow is to import the progress module to our app here in our app module.ts, and then import it inside of ngModule. We're also importing the HTTP module here, here, and here so that we can run our GET request afterwards. So let's go back to our code. Let's go to our app module, and in here we go. We'll import our ngProgressModule, which we also have to import inside of ngModule, and we're also importing the HTTP module so that we can use it later in our code. Now that is done, we will add our custom ngProgress tag to our template. Back in our code, let's go to the template, and here we can remove all the default HTML and add our progress bar. So at this point we're just loading default options. We can change some of these options if we like, and I will show you those once we've got the progress running. So the next thing we need to do is to simulate a slow HTTP and get some sample JSON data. So in order to do that, we're using these two websites linked here on my Medium article, and we create this constant where we define a delay, and we point to this this post so that we can get the information. The next thing we have to do is to use the service options that ngProgress service provides. There are 4 of them: start, set, which sets a percentage completion as a fraction, inc, which increments the progress by a fraction, and done, the opposite of start, which completes the progress. In this example, which I will show you in the code in a second, we're simply using some set timeout functions here and here, simply so that we can illustrate the versatility of this package. Of course, we'd never use set timeout in production. So if we go back to our code now, so first, inside of our component, we're going to add on init in the imports. So inside of our app component, we import the on init from Angular core. We add the HTTP and the ngProgress service as well. Then inside of our component, which will now implement on init, we'll create a variable called posts of type any initially, and then here we go, in the constructor we will have our progress service of type ngProgress service and our HTTP, and then in our ng-on-init we'll create the constant that we mentioned just a minute ago, and then we'll use the services. So here we have it. What we have here is this progress service start, which starts the bar. Then we've got a timeout, which again is just for illustration purposes, where we're going to set the progress to 10% of the width after 1 second. Then after 2 seconds from the start, we'll set the increment to 20%. And we will then run our GET request and finally run the progress service on done. So if we now go to our browser and refresh, there we go. We see, if I do that again, we see the progress bar is set, comes back, and then progresses gradually. We have the spinner over on the right. The template options that ngx-progressbar provides are listed on the original website, of course, and I'll just show you a couple of them here just for illustration purposes. If we go back to the code, go back to our component, we can now change this default progress bar and replace it with a few options selected, not all of them. And if we come back to our browser and reload the page, we see now that we've changed the color, we've changed the way it's progressing, but again, it's a really nice progress bar to show your users something is happening. The author of this package has also added the Automagic loading bar that allows you to use ngProgress without even starting or stopping it, which is really great. And you only have to add a couple of lines to your code to make it work, so this is how it works. So we'll also import ngProgress browser XHR and the browser XHR, and once we've done that, all we need to do is add a provider. And now we can go to the app component, we can remove the start set inc, and we can also remove the done. And if I now go to my browser and reload, there we have it. Default options, of course, but it starts and stops on its own. The last thing we're missing here, of course, is the data. Let's fetch that data. And now, if we reload with the default values, we find that we've got our GET request at the end. Et voilà! So, happy coding. Follow me on Twitter, Medium, LinkedIn for more, and check out letsboot.com for more great content. I really want to say a big thank you to Mudhaf Sausli, and apologies if I'm not pronouncing his name correctly. This progress bar is really awesome work and really easy to use, so kudos to him for his great work. So what's next? Well, we'll be looking at other awesome components and bringing you short tutorials to get them running in no time. Thanks, bye.